Yo, what's up? What a good morning, everybody. It's been a little bit of time, but I'm back, baby. Yo, we got a great show for you today. We're going to be talking quite a few things. Yo, we're looking at the greatest college rugby beef in USA history, CRA versus NCR. What's going on with that? 6 Nations is leaving BBC. No, that is not just an internet meme. That is actually happening. Man, we are on Rees Zammit watch. Boy, that boy trying to do something with the Kansas City Chiefs. We got USA Rugby Hall of Fame candidate announcements. We got new referees for the Olympics. We got to throw it out. We got new rule changes by World Rugby. Y'all, we got a great one out here for you. And don't stay too far away. But before we get to that, yo, let's hit this intro, y'all.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. You are now tuned in to the greatest of all time, the greatest of all time.
Welcome to the Rugby Swag Show. Welcome to a new episode of Rugby Swag. My name is Gift Time Mbelo, and of course, it's a show where we speak to people about the opportunities they have found, created, and taken advantage of via rugby while giving you all the updated news needed to be able to keep you up to date with what's going on. Y'all, it has been a couple weeks. A lot has happened. Yo, we changed. We got a new place. We're working on trying to get this whole setup so it looks even more. Had enough people telling me, yo, your background is so much. You got to do something about the background. Well, we working on it. We changed the whole location. All right, whole location, new studio, everything like that. On top of that, y'all, of course, if you guys don't know, got my baby on the way with just a couple weeks. So we're kind of up and down and iffy with all of it, just trying to figure out exactly how to get this all going down and around. But that is it's very much important, but that's not the only thing, y'all. I need you guys still, despite all this things happening, to please, if you get a chance, to please like and subscribe this on YouTube, on Facebook, on all the respective social media spaces, because of course, we are absolutely still in the need to be able to get this engagement. I got babies on the way, man. I need y'all's help. on this. Well, y'all, of course, if you can't catch it, obviously on YouTube, absolutely check us on our social medias. You can find us at Rugby Swag Show at Instagram. Of course, you can find us at Gift Abelu on X. But the primary of the primaries is always going to be Gift Time Rugby on Facebook, literally here on YouTube. Check it out on TikTok, on Twitch. Absolutely go check it out. You can even check it out on Instagram and X too. But we want to make sure that we're getting you to the right places. And like I've said before, I still need you guys to please absolutely share this and talk to your friends about this. And if they're not able to watch it on YouTube, absolutely take a listen to it on any of the major streaming podcast channels. That is Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Overtone, or Google Podcasts, though I don't think that exists anymore since it's getting moved into YouTube Podcasts. So go check it over on YouTube Podcast as well. Like we just everywhere. We want to be where the people are. We want to make sure that you are getting what you're supposed to be able to get as it goes. But my goodness, what a wild couple of weeks. Like, we've had club championships. We've had the Pacific Four nations started up for the women's. USA. We had the NCR CRCs. We had CRAA 7s, even though we got a little bit of a conversation happening with that. But more importantly, we have had some major rugby news that has been going on, and I can't wait to be able to talk to you about this. And we're going to go from top to bottom, because this is one of those situations where it's just like, we just need to sort some of this stuff out. And there's even some information that I'm not going to get here. And just to let you know, if I don't get to some of these news, we're going to be posting stuff more regularly on Instagram, doing a little bit better explanation so that we can kind of conduct ourselves on the stories. It's been kind of a process trying to get everything together, but it's coming along. It's coming along. I'm making my work happen, all right? This is part of the growing process. But before we get started with our first story of the day, let's go take care of some of the people who take care of us first. Yo, please, absolutely, just give it a second as we're going to get to our first story and talk about what's going on with Six Nations. This is Gifted Bailu with Gift Time with the Rugby Swag Show. We'll be right back. I'm going to let you get back to the show in a moment, but I want to talk to you about our sponsors, Health Enhanced Foods, the best specialty flours in the business. What does that mean for you? That is the flours that allow you to be able to get the nutritious need from your bread make. That's muffins, bread, croissants, whatever, pancakes and muffins. It will give you the opportunity to be able to get the best while still being able to eat like you wanted to. We have various amounts of products available for those who have special dietary needs to those who are looking for a special health outcome. And of course, because they're part of the Rugby Swag Show, we want to let you know that you got a chance to go to healthenhancedfoods.com and use code Rugby Swag to be able to get 20% off your first order. Y'all, this is something that you're going to need. You got to build up, have your energy at the best, be the maximum. It's 2024. Let's do the best. But now, I want you guys to get into it. Let's get back to the show. Yo, welcome back. Yo, look, we got our first story up of the day, and ironically, it might be one of the weakest ones, but it's one of the most impactful. Yo, the BBC is looking to remove its license with the Six Nations. What? Now, let's put some context in between this. Six Nations has been shown by the BBC and ITV for the better part of the last 4 years. But it seems, and even longer, I think they split it over the course of the last 4 years, but it had been jumping between a few of these channels. But most importantly now, it looks like they are looking to let this go. It doesn't look like it's being very, I guess, profitable for BBC in this situation, and they are taking away their step into it. And so it looks like for the moment, ITV is going to have a little bit of exclusivity, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the only situation for them. And now there is a giant worry that there is going to be a bidding war for Six Nations and the chance that some games might get behind a paywall. Now, you know, I want to be able to set the context. I want to do better in getting that context before putting an opinion out there. Now, some of the people that are going to be contenders for it are platforms like Netflix, Sky TV, which had it back in 2015 last, TNT, and Amazon Prime Sports as well. So there are a number of at least contenders to know that the Six Nation isn't going to go away. Obviously, we still got the Six Nation Full Contact that's coming back for season 2 in 2025. But after the 2025 season, it's no longer going to be on the BBC, and now it's up to whoever to be able to take advantage of it. Now, in my opinion, I really actually don't think this is a bad thing. I think there's a lot of people who are afraid of it not being on free to TV in the UK. And I know in the US, it doesn't necessarily impact us, but at the same time, it kind of does. Because even though I think right now NBC had the Six Nations or Flow has the Six Nations, but whoever is this next streaming company or next company to be able to get it will have a ripple effect on what happens throughout the rest of the other countries. So I look at it like we saw with the Super Bowl this year, where Peacock took a playoff game, an NFL playoff game, and streamed it for the first time, where it was behind a paywall, quote, quote. But, you know, and it did numbers, right? Now, I'm not saying Six Nations is going to do the same in numbers, but I think this is a good chance of being able to move forward, and especially to be able to help the rugby game be able to find new value in places that they need to. One area right now, we know with the women's premiership, they are currently under TNT, which is WB Discovery. And that allows them to be able to present on to platforms like Max. This is something that I think adds a lot more value than what has been on TV, because you have obviously the availability everywhere that you go. I know here in Brazil, we received the Six Nations under Star Plus, which is under Disney Plus, which is now migrating into the Disney Plus app. I think in the US, it's the same thing with the Hulu. So to be able to have these games on the platforms where, one, they naturally were already being attended on. Most of the rugby games that we deal with typically happen were on YouTube, or you're seeing it on a streaming site. Obviously, Rugby Pass is now taken over for a lot of sevens. We got the Rugby Network, and then you got Flow Rugby as well as two. But in the situation, putting the Six Nations in a place where everybody has access, and they're already going to, I think isn't the biggest deal. Like, unless, yeah, and even when it comes to the bars and situations, you either have smart TVs or you already have packages that are already capably going to be handling that. So I don't think this is going to be the biggest deal. And there's a lot of complaint about the fact that it's going behind a paywall, and that there is the worry that, you know, for all this tradition, especially in a place like Wales, I love that Rugby Planet Rugby. This is ruck.co. Put one of the tweets by Hyde Williams where he said, "Rugby is central to Welsh culture and identity. Putting the Six Nations behind a paywall would be a disaster. Westminster will later vote on our amendment to the media bill, which would add the Six Nations to a Group A list. Seameru urge other Welsh MPs to vote accordingly." Like, this would make sense if this was behind an individual installer, right? Like a smaller independent, and not that I'm against independent streamers, but a smaller streamer that it's a little bit more difficult and less consistent. But if your options are things like Amazon Prime, who's absolutely trying to get into sports, and so many people have Amazon Prime simply because of the shipping capabilities for Amazon, or you're trying to get on Netflix, which is slowly getting to more live and content where you naturally already have an access, and most people are already on there. Most people who are in, of course, a specific economic world are on Netflix. Like, to put it on that gives you a far greater reach and far greater access than the limitations of what the satellite does for your free to TV, or what you do on your traditional linear channels. It doesn't even affect your bar elements. I feel like this idea would have made sense in terms of like the worry of it being behind a paywall 5 years ago, pre-pandemic, would have made sense because it's not a natural location outside of Netflix. But give a quick shout out, Jackson Anderson, saying, "Hey, Gift, I saw your live and thought I would say hi. Got to run, but I'll try and come back and watch the show later. Thanks for all your content. Take care. Much love from the motherland." Jackson, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the love. Shout out from the continent, man. Much blessings. Hope you have a great day of work today as well, too. But going back to what I'm saying, I don't think that this is the same argument that would have been made 5 years ago whenever there was the real worry of being behind a actual paywall, where it was a disconnect from your normal day-to-days. Even to this day, now it's not. It's not in 2024, not since the pandemic, not since the huge influx going into streaming. And this is something that, once again, can reach people that you thought TV does, but now streaming does. Six Nations on Netflix, in addition to Full Contact, is gangbusters. That is a gangbuster situation. Netflix will love it because the Six Nations will be cheap. Then you got the Full Contact, which means the footage that's used will be less limited. You get real full game footage. Not that they did a bad job, but they get to have all the game footage, and that's a big deal. That is a massive deal. Amazon Prime, I already said, I think would be massive. Amazon Prime is giving out money, and they are absolutely in the looks for it. I know they have the quote technical reach, but I don't think they have the same clout as a Netflix, but I would love to see him. TNT, it's here or there. Again, WB Discovery is a huge mess, so I'd always be suspect, but again, if you already got women's premiership, then to be able to get to Six Nations is a very natural step. And I would assume they would also take Six Nations women, which I think they might already have at that point. So it'd be a little bit more concrete, and you'd have a lot more consistency. So ITV, you're going to have to deal with not having the exclusivity, but, who cares? Like, it's just one channel. And again, linear channels that don't have streaming behind them are basically going to be burnt out of the situation. But let me know what you guys think, yo. Like, what do you think about the Six Nations leaving BBC, especially whenever you are in Europe? And what do you feel it means to be able to put it into another channel, especially into a streamer. Let me know what your thoughts are, man, and let's talk about it. All right, going on to our next story, because I'm not going to jump into a commercial. I gave you guys one already. Yo, we got some continued American collegiate rugby beef. College Rugby Association of America versus the National Collegiate Rugby. Now, this isn't a new beef. We've been dealing with this beef for almost, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years now? If you guys don't know, NCR came off from escrow after the bankruptcy of USA Rugby, and USA Rugby was like, yo, college rugby, you got to take care of things on your own. They did a brand change, did some board awakening, got some investment-ish, and changed from escrow to National College Rugby, recruited and brought in a whole bunch of teams that were both D1 as well as D2, as well as smaller mid-major and D3 colleges and small colleges, as opposed to just focusing on it. On the flip side of it, College Rugby Association of America said, hey, we still the leaders here in America in college rugby. We still hold the biggest competitions. The women's D1 select. We got still men's D1. We still got the biggest clubs in the country with Life University and Navy and all these people here. And we still have our D2s and D2s and smaller divisions as well. So we're still out here. But I think even though we got the Kendrick and Drake beef, I think we saw our coming to a head moment with NCR. And it really came out about 2 weeks ago whenever the CRCs completed, and the last week when the CRAAs were about to get started, and CRAAs, I think, women's competition started. And we got some news about the men's sevens competition. All right, let's take a quick look at what was going on as we had that.
Facts around the full, complete facts around why it was canceled, but essentially the CRAA, which is the college rugby, USA's rugby college branch.
Ooh, I think my thing went out. Oh, okay, hold on. I think the video didn't go to completion. Hold on. Let's try this again. All right, I think we got a little bit of an error, a little frozen up issue. Hold on, let's see if we can. But all right, so basically what was happening in that is a shout out to Lance Kavanaugh on a Great American Rugby. He was talking on his Instagram stories, and somebody had brought up the situation that college rugby, CRAA's Collegiate Men's Sevens tournament had been canceled for the men's side. And it was removing the factor that there were some repeats that were going to happen, and there were some issues that essentially occurred with the CRAA's men's competition, the CRAA men's competition, where they were unable to put together the They were unable to put together the location correctly for where the college CRAA sevens men's sevens competition should have been. And as a result, they were unable to find a location on time, and ultimately I had to cancel, which is significantly damning to CRAAs. I do believe that, obviously the success of the CRCs, 150 plus teams, absolutely doing it out in Houston, another successful campaign. You saw so much good natured words that came out from people like Grant Cole, people like Pat Clifton, obviously the NCR guy. Like, everybody was very, very proud and happy to see the development over the course of the last 4 years of the CRCs and where the NCR has been going. And CRCs aren't even the only competition that NCR has. They still have they have a slew of championships for 15s and 7s that allow them to be able to consistently stay on the map. But the CRCs were the preeminent sevens competition for college. And if your other side is unable to complete their portion of it, it does make a very solid case, especially for something as serious as not being able to get a location early, because these are things that have to come into play. You do have to ask, is it now time that maybe the CRAA concede, and CRAA essentially being USA Rugby, concede collegiate rugby over to NCR, which has been doing great from a private industry. They've doing solid from a marketing industry. They are legitimately just focused on it, and subsequently have been able to find ways to be able to magnify the collegiate sport, the collegiate rugby arena, despite the fact that there is this split between teams on either side. You know, and a lot of people would argue like, hey, it's USA Rugby should run it. But the reason why we came to this situation was obviously poor money management by USA Rugby. And then, of course, the ultimate bankruptcy. And then the issues now that came up when it came to dealing with membership dues. So for NCR, they've been out here trying to establish themselves, trying to figure out how to be able to bring on refs, how to be able to make sure that the money that they do spend in memberships that go to USA Rugby stay within collegiate rugby. And on the other side, but at the same, and have now argued about the cost. Whereas on the other side, USA Rugby has, not done a great job in being able to chew gum and walk at the same time when it comes to this, while also simultaneously kind of being petty in actions when it came to the refs, in there being the ban or a reprimanding on the ability for referees to be able to do NCR games while keeping their accreditation for being a ref, which was very silly. But also at the same time, USA Rugby trying to say, hey, we have to also make sure that we are upholding specific guidelines and laws or regulations so that we can assure the safety and consistency of our players. So there is an argument on both sides. And look, I don't know how many of you guys know, I've been on both sides. I very, 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 very briefly worked with NCR during the pandemic, and very briefly worked with USA Rugby, and got used as an example of jumping between the two. It was something I wanted to get out of very quickly because I didn't like the energy between it. But, from both sides, there has been a lot of animosity. But I think we're starting to see a positioning that, 4 years later, it's looking good for NCR. And NCR came in like Kendrick, Gatling gunning, getting the CRCs back and really building that into a respectable arena. It's still not at the height of where it was back in 2010, 2011, 2012, but it's growing into something that is now being consistent. It is much more web accessible. It obviously gets shown on the Rugby channel. They really try and make a professional job. Shout out to our guy, Ryan Ginty over with Next Level Rugby. And to be able to put together something that is an entertaining positioning and something that creates storylines. So I think this week and the loss of that might make a change. And I have to say, like, as a person who I support USA Rugby, and I understand the need for consistency, especially within this small rugby arena, it's not a bad thing to concede over control to private arenas. It's not like, not even college football does all of it. NCAA does not run all the stuff. Like, championships are run by private organizations. The Heisman Trophy is run by a private organization, so you don't need to be all hands on everything all the time. And it doesn't always work because it makes for obviously split decisions, split minds. And at the same time, and situations of sort. So I look at it as something that goes, all right, we really need to kind of take a look and rework this. And I need them to be able to get on board because it's not a good look for them to be in this contestment. I think it really is starting to hurt college rugby. And right now, college rugby is the biggest asset that USA Rugby has for so many things. And we're seeing that on the national level, that we need this in a bad way. We need the transition point. But, yo, let me know what you guys think about this. Yo, where do you feel like USA Rugby and NCR Rugby need a kind? I know a lot of people have animosity against USA Rugby. It's very easy because they've been the biggest dog. We've seen the mistakes at the widest. We've seen the issues that they have done. But at the same time, you know, there is a consistency in knowing there is a connection between World Rugby and them and whatnot. But NCR, they're not a new dog on the street. They've been around for better part of 20 years, 20 to 22 years. You know, they're seeing success. It looks like they have their focus. Man, where do you guys stand on it, man? Let me know what you guys think. All right, y'all. Be right back. We got ads now. We got to take care of those that take care of us, but we'll be right back after this, and we're going to talk a little bit on what has been going on in World Rugby and the changes that are happening. This is Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag. Be right back.
Buckwheat is changing lives. My name is Gifted Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods, and I want to tell you about one of my favorite products on our shelves, buckwheat baking mix. Buckwheat is a seed that is incredibly nutrient and protein dense. But what makes it even more important, that buckwheat baking mix is absolutely gluten-free. A lot of times whenever people have buckwheat mixes, they actually even hold wheat inside of it. So you know it's not fully gluten. And if you're a person that is celiac or diabetic, or you're just really trying to be health conscious, it's not something that you want to have to worry about. What makes our buckwheat baking mix even more important is that it is versatile. You can use it for pancakes. You can use it for waffles. You can use it for making loaves of bread. You can make it for cupcakes. But what helps even more is that it is allergen free. It is nut free. It is dairy free. That there is no additional additives in it. There's no leavening there, so that if you want to be able to raise your bread, you can put in the baking powder yourself and get it fluffy. If you don't, you absolutely do not have to. You get the bread that you love without the cost to your health. You can absolutely find buckwheat baking mix at healthenhancedfoods.com. Absolutely check it out. Get your nostalgia back. Get back to eating and loving the way that you are, and absolutely get back to the energy that you know that you can get without having to destroy yourself. I'm looking forward to seeing you get it. Let's go.
All right, welcome back, y'all. Look, man, we got some big news that happened this week. World Rugby out here trying to get the game faster, make it more interesting, make sure that we can be more with the fan. Oh, man, they made a couple announcements this week about some major rule changes. What they called fan, what did they call it? They call it fan requested changes, fan focused law changes, which essentially is part of their attempt to, find a way to, pigeon between what they've been doing and what the internet has been telling them to do. And I'm not going to lie, I am a preeminent World Rugby hater. I throw shade at them on a consistent basis. I don't think that they have the best interest of the world at hand, but that being said, I can absolutely appreciate when somebody goes, hey, I'm going to see what you guys just said, and we're going to make some shifts over here, because I appreciate it, especially if it's, depending on what the shift is, it's game. I don't know if it's everything. I still question their marketing, but, they said they wanted to do some shifts. So they announced they were going to make some shifts to the scrum laws. They're going to do some shifts to the red card laws. And honestly, let's just take a quick look at it right now. So one of the things that they said that they're going to be changing as of July 1st, 2024, all right? July 1st, 2024, they are changing the onside from kicks in open play law. So what that absolutely means is that they are going to be looking at when a player is offsides in an open play, if that player is in front of a teammate who is carrying the ball or who last played it, an offside player must not interfere with the play. This includes playing the ball, tackling the ball character, preventing the opposition from playing as they wish, loitering in offside position, including for that, it's also an offside player may be penalized, doesn't not make an effort to retreat, they move towards the ball, or they just anything to impede the process. They got to get back. So I think before it was a lot of situations where you would try and slow down the ball by trying to just limit a bit of what was going to happen whenever someone was offside, whenever you saw the ball was going to be off, and it just give you a chance to be able to get your guys back and then force the opposing team, the running team, to either do a free kick or kick it to touch, but not just be able to run free. Looks like we're going to be getting that a lot heavier now. In addition to that, it looks like free kicks, they changed it. It will no longer be possible to choose a scrum from a free kick. Free kicks must either be tapped or kicked to encourage more ball and flow. I'm not going to lie. I like that. I actually genuinely like that. I do, especially as a forward, it gets very exhausting sometimes to have to keep jumping back and forth, especially whenever you're not sure what is going to happen. So if you're across the field or you're getting set and you're like waiting, and the penalized team has the option for a free kick, and they're like, okay, let's go to scrum. It does slow the game down. Now, there's obviously teams that take advantage of that moment, which is great. South Africa is one of those, which clearly this is kind of a little bit of a jab towards South Africa. But, I do like that for the flow of game, because I really do like running off the ball and seeing what they do. And then with the kick, if you kick it into touch, obviously, you can push people back in territory, but it turns over the ball one way or another. And, it also becomes a far more annoying game of, ball tennis than one would prefer to be. The next one is the crocodile roll, which honestly, I believe this might be the dumbest of the changes, but they're calling for player safety. I think within the U.S., that's the one that's the leg tackle roll that they just eliminated, which tried to use that as an example of rugby being able to show their aggression and show that it's still there. But basically the barrel tackle is being removed out. And essentially what they're saying is the crocodile roll, while low in numbers, these actions continue to cause long-term injuries in many players. The shape of game, which is the meeting, the fan adjustment meeting that they call it, showed clear support for removing the specific action in law. What they will replace it with is a player may lever the jackal out of the contest at the ruck, but must not drop their weight onto them or target their lower limbs. A player may remove the jackler from the tackle area by pushing and driving them backwards, including by grabbing the knees and legs, but may not roll, pull, or twist an opponent. A player may not drop their weight into opponent or target the lower limbs. Nuclear not to roll, pull, or twist, and basically prohibits, for anybody that understands, it's when you make a tackle, a dude's bigger than you, and whenever you just wrap them and you use your body to bring them through. I'm not going to lie, that's a big play for me. Not necessarily at the lower limbs, but definitely from above the waist, because of the fact that there's times where you just can't get them until you know that you're off balance. I don't feel like this one was worth it. Like, this is an overplay, and I feel like this is because of the NFL that they did this one. And like, this one's going to suck for a lot of wings and a lot of scrummies, because especially whenever you get big centers or locks running it down. Like you get that wrap up around the legs, and instead of you just allowing yourself to get dragged and allow them to still be able to consistently move forward, it allows you to adjust your weight into that side of the leg and then just be able to rotate down so that you turn their positioning and their momentum out. So gives them the fall. It allows you to be able to take them down and prevent the momentum, because that issue is hard. Like, it's hard. Like, yo, this isn't a form tackle issue. This is legitimately like, yo, the tackler has the tackler has as much of a safety issue as the one who's being tackled, because mugs are big these days too. So it's very interesting to see that they made that one. I don't agree with that, but let me know what you guys think on it. So the other one that I talked about, like I said, was the red card and the addition of being able to make some small changes that came with the sanction. So I want to take a look at that real quick to allow us to be able to see what was some of these major changes. So one of the major changes that they decided on that was on the definition and the automatic bans, right? So again, I think a lot of people made a lot of arguments, especially during the Rugby World Cup, whenever that New Zealand All Blacks player was lost within like the first 10 minutes of the game, and the uncertainty until like 10 minutes after he was called. So a lot of questions were like how that impacted the full game, because it cost him and the game afterwards, and could have cost him the rest of the tournament if he wasn't careful. So it looks like World Rugby made a couple adjustments. Key principle, number one, the on-field process remains the same. Referees can still give a straight red card, and the bunker can be called upon for matters that meet the yellow card threshold, or reflecting a commitment to ensuring the right outcome and deterring the foul play, which I do think is right. The referees require the power, especially on the field, to be able to make sure that they can be able to make a call without there being so much interference afterwards. Next, a red card still means a red card, but this means that after 20 minutes, the offended team will be able to replace the red-carded player with one of their available replacements, leading to more jeopardy and better contest on the day. The punishment is focused on the offending player, not the game. This might be one of the most important and biggest things that they actually did, and I feel like this might be the one time that World Rugby was 100% correct, because I think when it comes to the red card, it is about the player who got offended. Yes, the team gets hit for that 20 minutes. Like, I love the fact a short period of time for the 20 minutes for the team to be affected by that. It still takes a lot. That's a quarter of the game that's gone, right? A quarter of the game gone, you're down a whole player. But whenever it comes to the fact that you can't have a player again for the entirety of the game, the level of disadvantage that plays for a team, it changes up how the perspective is. It makes the game suck a little bit more, because players are now overplayed, they're overtired, and even though this is as much a mental game as it is a physical game, it takes away a strategic advantage that just makes the game boring. And especially if you have a team that might be very, very even, or more importantly, like a team that is in a situation where they are playing above themselves and they get a red card and it completely throws everything off for the entirety of the game. It can take something that could be a great upset and shift it back down into the most worthless type of game that you could absolutely have. And I am so happy they changed it so that the red carded player is off for that game and the game afterwards. But the team does not have to feel it for a full 80 minutes, a full 40 minutes, a full, 60 minutes. They're able to just be able to readjust, and you're down a player. You don't have subs. You don't have the same amount of subs, but you at least are able to get your guys on, and you can keep the play, and you're punished for, again, a quarter of the game. So big shout out to World Rugby for making that really, really wise decision with that one. And lastly, second to last, ban will mean what they say. Players sent off for dangerous foul plays will be banned for longer. via an automatic sanctioning process, no hearing. There will be no mitigation applied without an appeal. Now, to be able to go on that, they explain what that means. Foul play is an automatic 2 weeks out, where a player has attempted to effect a legal rugby action and or has committed a reckless action, but has made minor errors such as in technique or timing. I do once again hope that they play this one well, because I know this one is when it comes to a lot of head injury stuff, the head-to-head collisions that again affected the Rugby World Cup. But an automatic 2 weeks. Aggravated foul play is an automatic 4 weeks, where a player has affected a highly reckless action and or non-legal rugby action, a tucked arm, no attempt to wrap, driving tackle. A sanctioning committee comprised of members with rugby experience will calibrate all red card sanctionings from a round/weekend of matches. No mitigation will be applied in automatic sanctioning scenarios, creating an environment of consistency while making the process easier for players and fans to understand. Again, very, very important. Something that is absolutely needed. It allows them to be able to now give us what we know should happen once it's on the field. That red card comes up, we know that player's gone for the rest of the game. Hands down, ain't no questions about it, yada, yada, yada. But again, as we talked about previously, it's not going to affect the team for the entirety of the game, unless it's the last 20 minutes of the game, obviously. But to be able to now have at least, hopefully, people who are objective and will be able to look at some of these plays back. Some of these can move from 2 weeks off. Maybe they don't get recounted as a red card in that moment, and nobody has to be pissed off and death threat refs because they had a player down for the majority of the game and were unable to do anything afterwards. And it's like, no, 20 minutes, you're able to bring people in. This player is now under training, and then we're going to determine the level of the violation that was done. Great job. And then lastly, welfare remains non-negotiable. While tackle technique has shifted significantly, which again goes to the crocodile roll, both welfare and performance dynamics, the off-field sanctioning process will continue to act as a strong deterrent to players, while education on tackle technique as a performance enabler will be stepped up. So, some of these changes I do think is pretty legitimate. I think there is a legitimate concern for it. Again, I do feel like the crocodile roll is a bit overrated. Yes, I know people get hurt, but I do think that's a little bit of over-policing. But again, when you haven't been affected by it, maybe you don't know to the extent of what it really means in that facet. So let me know what you guys think about this. Like, how do you feel on some of these law changes on it? For me, like I said, I'm here for what, especially with the red card. I think that has been needing to be improved for maybe the better part of 15 years now. So for them to finally get to it, I think is really significant. And it shows a willingness to show entertainment to the game, give safety to the players, but also not try and sway the game by the refs. So the refs are also protected as well too. So, I love to hear what you guys have to say. But we'll be right back. We got commercials and we're going to be back. We're going to talk some Rees Zammit, man. That guy is on a roll. This is Gifted Bailu with Rugby Swag. We'll be right back.
There's wheat flour that you can eat. My name is Gift Time at Bailu. I'm here with Health Enhanced Foods. And I want to tell you about one of our best and most beloved products, our sweet white wheat baking mix. Now, this is the baking mix for those who are not really looking for something that's gluten-free, but they are looking for something that they can eat that is going to still be healthy and is not going to be dangerous. White flour is typically a very processed, incredibly bleached flour, and it's not good for you. It's incredibly cheap for a reason. Our sweet white wheat bread mix is whole grain, dairy-free, high in dietary fiber, free of additives, and is absolutely unprocessed and unrefined. With our sweet white wheat bread mix, you can feel like you're getting all the same rewards that you would get from poor white bread, but with all the nutritional value. You're able to still make your bread loaves or your cakes, your flat bread or your cookies, but you don't have to feel like you are going to be robbing yourself of good carbohydrates. You can get the sweet white wheat bread mix from healthenhancedfoods.com Absolutely go impress your friends and family with the greatest bread while not making them feel like they have to be gluten-free at the same time. No dangers, full body pleasures. Go ahead and get yours today. Let's go.
Yo, welcome back. Yo, look, man, I don't know why. I do know, and I don't know why this is such a big story, but man, the Rees Zammit story is legitimately getting more and more interesting to me. If you guys don't know, big backtrack, Rees Zammit, former Welsh and Gloucester rugby star, up-and-comer within the sport, decided, hey, man, yo, I think I've done what I needed to do in rugby. Yo, let me go over to the U.S., and I want to go through the international player pool to be able to get a chance to play in the NFL. And this man has been on it. And as a result, man, I think we created one of the most interesting concepts. Yo, Rees Zammit watch. Let's go. Now, if you guys don't know, the NFL draft happened, and the Kansas City Chiefs picked a wide receiver for their number one pick of the draft, Xavier Worthy. What this meant is that now we are kind of getting a better idea of where Rees Zammit is going to end up finding himself in this with the Chiefs. He's been in camp. He's still doing pre-training camp. Obviously, training camp still has another month before it starts. But we are seeing where his positioning is going to be, and we start to see videos. That wide receiver room for the Kansas City Chiefs, absolutely full. Xavier Worthy, fastest time in the combine, 4.21. Bruh, Rees Zammit, even at the high 4.2s, ain't touching that man with that experience. But it looks like we're looking at Rees Zammit to start working with the running backs a bit more. And we started seeing a little bit of footage that came from that one. See what we can bring up on that. You know. All right. We got you. All right. So all right, hold on. We getting it. Getting a quick look. Got a couple of these. Working out with the running backs, which is a big deal. Okay, let's also put things into perspective. Rees Zammit is not a small guy. This is a 6'3", 209-pound guy, right? Like that is a tall running back by all intents and purposes. That is about the same height as Derrick Henry, but about 40 pounds less. So that's going to be an adjustment for him. But it looks like he's been able to have some good success and finding some ways around it. He had a press conference last week talking a little bit about his experience as he's been going through this. And I got to say, I got to appreciate the humility that he's having more of bit by bit. Not that I guess he wasn't, but again, some of the things that were said before were a little bit, like I said, I felt like they were a little, not intentionally contentious, but they were contentious, right? They were contentious. So, all right, let's take a look at what he got at his press conference. He talked about the fact of why he decided to go to rugby instead of staying with, why he wanted to go to the NFL, staying with rugby.
Well, obviously my dad was a big NFL fan growing up, and he wanted to play the sport. He played American football back in the UK. You know, it wasn't an option to come out here and play, but yeah, growing up as a kid, I've always watched it. You know, every Sunday I've been staying up late. Obviously, the time difference is 5 to 6 hours, so you know, the early hours in the morning for me. But yeah, I've my dad's a massive mentor for me and a role model. So it was just about when I was going to do it, and I achieved everything I wanted to in rugby. So I thought now was the perfect time. Well, obviously my dad.
Again, absolutely love this because of the fact that, again, we some of this we already knew. It was well documented, his processing of wanting to do the NFL because of his father and stuff. But I do think that it is really telling, again, that commitment, which, again, had no doubt about that. I think he was very upfront when it came to stuff like that. But it does allow for the focus, and it gives greater trust, and it hurts. Now, this clip I wanted to put in because it does talk about some of the differences that he has between rugby training and NFL training at this point. And I think this one was really good because I think this is one of the things that really make a difference between the free play, even if you have phases and play phases, but the free play of rugby versus the more disciplined play structure of football. This is what he had to say about that.
It's Rees Zammit. I've heard many different ways of saying it, but Rees Zammit. I mean,
this is him talking about his name. Yeah.
I guess that's what it is. Yeah, I mean, it's completely different. Obviously, in rugby, it's very free flowing. Unless you get a set piece in rugby, that's when you call a play. So there's probably 20 to 30 plays a game, whereas here you're talking hundreds. So it's been interesting to learn the playbook. Obviously, we're only a few installs in. I've only been here for a week. But yes, I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see what happens next. It's a good week, really good week. It was great to meet all the boys. Great to dive deep into the playbook, as I said earlier. But yeah, it's been a good week overall, and definitely helped doing rookie mini camp. Getting reps, because I'm a very the way I learn is like actually doing the reps. So it was a great 3 days.
Well, obviously my dad was a big NFL fan growing up, and he wanted to play
All right. So that just kind of repeats back on what we were already talking about from before. But I love it. Like, we're seeing the process and really breakdown, because I don't think we got this from Christian Wade when he was with the Buffalo Bills. And I don't think we never got to see homeboy from the Eagles really have that same deep process. So I love what we're getting with Rees Zammit, because it does inspire other people. And we've seen that inspiration effect actually occur with other players for England, like what's his name? Travis Clayton, who is nobody within the rugby field, plays low-level rugby, but he is a massive body who got selected through the IPP, kind of in the same pathway that Rees Zammit did, and was able to get drafted. And he's probably going to be a pretty solid, a defensive tackle. Guy is 6'3". Hold on, I got a solid picture of him. He's like a solid 6'5", freaking monster of a player. Got drafted by the Bills, which is already no, he's not 6'5". He's 6'7". He ran a 4. What was it? He ran a 4.79 as a lineman, competing as a lineman, and it looks like they're going to put him either at defensive line or offensive line. Offensive line. It looks like they're going to put him as an offensive lineman, which puts him at a position to be a probably really solid tackle, which I think is, again, it's great to see that consistent reputation. Probably homie from the Eagles, Maliata, is probably a little bit more inspiration, even though he's a rugby league player versus rugby union player. But to be able to be that big and have that footwork works well. And these guys tend to do very, very well in the NFL. So what we've seen from Rees Zammit, especially at the skill position, I'm glad it adds a little bit more element to it. But yo, I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in training camp. We're getting to see a lot of what he's been able to do so far. And yo, I'm excited for it, man. I'm excited for him. Let's go. Let me know what you guys' thoughts on Rees Zammit's updates, Rees Zammit's consistency, and what you guys think he's going to do. Like I said, him as a Reggie Bush, Christian McCaffrey type player would be great to see, and I think that's where they want to put him at. And especially because Rashad Ray is the younger wide receiver that the Chiefs had, ain't gonna be there because he's definitely going to jail. So to be able to get another outside guy to be able to make some plays, can't beat that. So shout out to Rees. I'm continuing to pull. I've been pulling for him. I just want that media training to kick in a little bit more. All right, y'all. We got one more set of ads, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about the USA Rugby Hall of Fame. We'll be right back after these messages.
Hey everybody, this is just the break train sending out a personal little video diary to all you people out there, where I am going to document me riding most of the way between Singapore and Tokyo for the 2019 Rugby World Cup.
I needed help, and it came from Louisiana.
We in Singapore, baby!
Gift from Gift Time Rugby USA is a extroverted tour de force. But what unites us is a hunger for adventure.
Off to KL, Kuala Lumpur. Yeah! Woo!
Gift, where are we?
We're in
Morning, Vietnam! Mount Fuji, baby!
Our love of Asian rugby culture.
1, 2, 3, center!
Rugby is starting to develop here in Cambodia for women as well.
Valkyries, the mighty, mighty Valkyries!
We're out here, we're running out of energy, we're running out of money, and we're feeling isolated. And yet at that critical moment, friends, family, sometimes complete strangers come on board. Before you know it, we're back in the game.
Tokyo, here we come!
Malaysia, Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam. Watch the full adventure at crugby.vhx.tv. That's C like SEE rugby.vhx.tv. Welcome back, y'all. Welcome back, y'all. All right, man. I've got about 5 minutes left, so I got to run through these little stories a little bit fast. This past week, last week actually, the USA Rugby Hall of Fame announced their class of 2024. They announced 8 new players and coaches to be able to enter into the class of 2024. I thought this was great. You guys can check out the full thing over at what was it? At usrugbyfoundation.org. But I wanted to mention a couple people that really stood out to me that I thought was really important. Number one is Victoria Folayan. Not only, if you guys don't know, Victoria Folayan was, before Naya Tapper came in, easily the best USA women's rugby sevens player ever. All right. Aliv Kelter has kind of came through and beat some of the scores, but Naya was the one that beat her try score. Not only is Victoria Folayan, or AKA Vix Fly, one of the ones that had been an absolute mentor and inspiration to watch. She was literally my very first interview with any USA Rugby or any international player ever, way back in 2013. When I was first starting. I always give her a lot of credit. Also, she's Nigerian fam, and she has been a consistent force, still working with USA Rugby. I was really sad whenever she essentially retired after the 2016 Olympics. I really thought that we'd get a couple more years of her, or at least get one more in, but I guess, time kicks in, it's expensive, and support was difficult. But shout out to Vix Fly for this one. I think that one of the most deserving people to be able to get this, and I think that makes her the second Black woman in the USA Rugby Hall of Fame. Shout out to Phaedra Knight being, I think, the first one. So I really think that this is a major, major deal, and I'm glad that they recognized her for being in there. The other one is Mike Tolkien. If you guys don't know, he was the USA Rugby 15's head coach. Again, whenever we entered in, he was, I think, one of the first American ones to be there. And his tenure wasn't the greatest, but it was literally more successful than we've had in the last few years. We took on an Ireland team and played them close. We took a Scotland team and almost beat them in Houston. Like, it wasn't a bad campaign. It just, it didn't match up. But, I think he's now working with PR7s, and he's been a big force, but he's been one of the nicest people. Another guy who's been a great interviewee. I loved what he's done out with New York. He had definitely like the American rugby story classic. And, I'm glad that they finally put him in because he genuinely deserves it for shifting a lot of the attention at the high school as well as the international men's play as well. So shout out to the total class of 2024, included Louis Stanfield and a slew of other people that I don't really know that well. But yeah, like I said, you can check them out at usarugbyfoundation.org. All right. We got some extras. I'm not even going to do ads. All right. One other person I want to be able to do shout outs for, Cisco Lopez and Kate Roche, who are major referees here in the U.S., were announced to be part of the Olympic rugby referee squad. I think it makes them one of the first Americans to finally get on that and get the respect. Cisco out of Florida, been doing so many games, known him since at least 2019, and even consistently, knew about him a little bit beforehand. When you talk about a guy who's worked from the bottom up and has been a great consistent force at the referee level, been a great ref, absolute shout out, absolute blessings, absolute congrats to him. Kate Roche, I don't know her as well, unfortunately, just a little bit outside my range, but she has been a major worker in refereeing as well. And man, congrats to both of them. That's exactly what you want to be able to see, and that's how you grow the game. Put more credibility on the U.S. It's not just what happens for the players, but what happens as an industry in general. Next up, I just wanted to throw out Madagascar women got qualified for the WXV3. A big deal, because I've been shouting out from the mountaintop, watch out for Madagascar, the country as a total program, Madagascar and Uganda. These are two programs that have wildly impressive talent at rugby, are wildly more strategic at rugby. And this Madagascar women that absolutely killed it during the Africa Cup tournament a couple weeks ago are getting their just dues to play in the next level of league that allows them to be able to shine and get a bigger stage. I hope that they absolutely show out in this one because they deserve it. I hope they get the funding that they need to be able to show out, because that's where it was really going to be weak for them. But I love what they've been able to do. And then also shout out to Canada. Canada's little brother, little sister, but in rugby, they definitely own us in so much, because they got moved into the WXV1 and because of the Pacific Four Nations, give them the shout out. I didn't think anybody was going to be able to move into that for another 2 or 3 years. But for them to be able to get in, that's a really big deal. They get to play with the likes of New Zealand, England, France, and all them major hub stuff. So North America pride, but I really want the U.S. to keep improving. We really need to get our athletes up. But we'll talk about that more at another time. But for right now, I just gotta say, I want to thank you guys for taking the time to listen, taking the time to be patient as we get stuff going. This has been a very weird process as clubs that are happening. So we got a lot going on, but we're going to try and keep up. Shout out to Health Enhanced Foods. Absolutely go check us out at healthenhancedfoods.com. If you know somebody who needs specialty foods to be able to help their diet, whether diabetic or have kidney failure or anything like that, absolutely go check out Health Enhanced Food and give them an option to be able to eat what they want. And lastly, of course, if you guys can, absolutely check out some of our past episodes, especially some of our great interviews. We've had great people like Lance Kavanaugh. We've had Craig Dawson. Congratulations to him graduating from Prairie View A&M. We've had Nia Tapper. We've had Kyle and Tiana Granby. We've had Blaine Scully. We've had Chetta Amba. We've had Addie Milby, like a lot of people who are major hitters and players within the World Rugby lexicon and in rugby in general. So thank you guys so much for your time. Thank you so much for being there, and look forward to talking to you next week. In the meantime, I hope that you're happy. I hope that you are healthy. Most importantly, I hope that you know that you are truly highly favorable. Till next time, cheers.